Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Hu, and I will be your online teacher for everything that is math related. Today we're going to talk about how do we approach math. A lot of students do tend to struggle with mathematics as it is more of an abstract concept to them. So hopefully through today's video, it gives you a bit more of a guideline on how to approach mathematics so that you have an organized method on how to get your ideas together and have a better understanding for it. The first thing I always tell the students is we need to take a look at the definition of anything in terms of vocabulary, new ideas within that section, right? So first of all, by definition, well, what do we mean, right? Well, let's say here, are you able to give a formal definition of the term, right? Are you able to give a few examples of that term? So pretend if I was a new student coming into your classroom. Are you able to explain to me what does this word mean? That is what we want from definitions. Once you understand definitions, we then move on to the next idea, which is, of course, the concept. Concept here means that do you understand what this concept is going to be used for? Are there any restrictions? Now, in mathematics, the most common restrictions always occur from fractions, right? We know that the rules with fraction is that you cannot divide by zero. Likewise, if you think about radicals, right, like square roots, right, there are rules there where it says that you cannot square root negative numbers, right? And this is what I mean by restrictions. Do you know why this concept is going to be, do you know why this concept is used or useful? You need to know when to apply this concept, right? And that is the most important part about that item. We then move on to one of the most important ones, of course, being the formula. The formula, again, we want to take a look here. We know that a formula consists of many components, right? So do you know what every component of the formula or equation stands for, right? So formulas, equations, they're pretty much the same thing, but we need to know, like, for example, equation of a straight line, right, is y equals to mx plus b. Right? Do you understand what the y stands for, what the m stands for, what the x stands for, and what does the b stand for? If you do, that's great. Now, we also need to make sure, are your algebra skills strong enough in such a way that I can rearrange the formula to get whichever variable I want, right? So originally it was y equals to mx plus b. Now, if I wanted to solve for b, would I know how to do that? If I want to solve for x, would I know how to do that? And if I so on and so forth. So you need to make sure you understand what does the formula do and how can I manipulate it to get what I need in case the question has been reworded to find something else. The last bit, of course, is practice. When it comes to mathematics, it is a whole new language, right? With any language, you need consistent practice. So, of course, where does the practice come from? Well, teachers will always give you homework, there's reviews, you got your textbook, you got worksheets, right? Helping and teaching friends is actually a great way to like relearn the material yourself and reinforce what you learned is, fully understood. Asking for help is definitely a big one. Students are often too shy to ask for help because they're afraid of looking um, silly or stupid, right? But in actuality, we have found in my 10 years of teaching that when a student asks a question, they might take on a little bit of humility, but that question might actually solve many issues for many other students who are also afraid to ask. So, for those with a bit more self-confidence, if you don't understand, make sure to ask for help, right? Again, if you get your part answered, great, but you also might be helping many others who are too scared to ask themselves. Now, how can you get to the highest grade? Okay, when it comes down to the highest grade, which means test time, you need to know that as a class, you guys are learning everything at the same pacing. So technically, everyone is given the same amount of information. So the question then is, how come some people do better and some people do worse? When it comes to a test, it's always about speed, accuracy, and being able to double check. So if you are getting everything right, that means you have the speed and accuracy to complete the test and you have full understanding of the material. If you're not getting full marks or not close to getting an A, then maybe it's that you have the speed down, but you're making a lot of silly errors, right? So the silly errors do end up adding up quite a bit, taking away a lot of your marks. And if you're not getting within the B or A range, probably in the C's or below, then that kind of tells us that you're probably not able to finish the test in time, or you don't understand the material well enough to do better. So with practice, it really comes down to that consistency, every day practice for 20, 30 minutes, rather than like delaying everything up to like maybe a day or two before the test and you're like cramming or bulking. Right? Now that does work for some students, but for the mass majority, again, mathematics is a new language, and with any language, you do need consistent practice. And that pretty much does it for today's first video. I hope that this gives you a better guideline for how to approach mathematics and how to prepare better for your math courses. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. Okay? Make sure to subscribe and like the video if this has been useful to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.